Welcome to Sachs Realty's Tuesday Night Podcast, where we talk about anything and everything real estate. Each week, we deliver expert information enabling you to make better informed decisions while keeping more money in your pocket. If you're interested in real estate, this is your show. All right, guys, welcome to our Tuesday Night Podcast. We are live, and guys, I have to tell you, we have a hot show lined up for you tonight. I would probably go as far as say one of our best shows ever, and that's because I'm joined with some real experts, part of Sachs Realty's preferred broker network, I'll add as well. These are agents that have very high ratings, and you'll see tonight, you'll see for yourself how professional they are. And guys, we're going to talk about really deception in the housing market tonight. And Joe, I don't know, I don't have a screen here to look at, buddy. But we're going to talk about a couple things, guys. I know we have a poll. We'll start out with that. We'll talk about our poll tonight. Gosh, we put who deceived you the most. And guys, it looks like you think realtors deceived you the most. Then I guess would be the internet sites. We're going to talk about Zillow, Realtor.com tonight. We're going to bring out some facts, some actual statistics that are going to blow you away. And then I guess next would be loan officers. And then lastly on the list that we had, I mean, guys, home inspectors. You say some have been deceived by home inspectors. But guys, the housing market right now is just, I mean, depending on who's pushing what agenda and who you're listening to and who you want to believe, whether the market's rebounding or crashing or a combination of both. We are covering, well, I'll let them introduce tonight. They're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in their market. I can tell you what's happening here in Maryland, but we will get started, guys. We appreciate you spending your Tuesday night with us. Melissa, thanks so much.
Todd. Hello, everyone. I see you all out there. I was gone last week, but I'm back this week. I see you, Brad, Charlton, the Duke, Cameron, Real Estate Mindset, Jeff M., all of you. It's so great to see you all. And we're super excited about our real estate panel this evening. We have Jess Powers from Providence, Rhode Island. We have Kevin Couture from Tampa, Florida. And we have James Sharp from the Dallas, Texas area. So I'm going to introduce each one of you. So I'm going to start with you, Jess. Tell us what you're seeing in your market.
Hey, Melissa, thanks for inviting me. I'm excited to be able to get to know and share our ideas and thoughts with you. So I'm in the Rhode Island market, but I'm also licensed in Massachusetts and Connecticut. I've been an agent for the past 10 years. I do about 25 million in sales as a solo agent. I focus really explicitly on making sure that my clients are fully informed. You know, a lot of the things that I think we're going to be talking today is maybe people that didn't feel like they were fully informed. And that's when you lead to decisions that maybe aren't the greatest decisions for you.
Well, Jess, thank you. It's really wonderful to have you here with us tonight. And Jess also has a YouTube channel. Check her out and go on over. The link is down in our show notes.
Everybody does.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Everyone here has their own YouTube channel. So please, we encourage you, check them out, reach out to them. They'd love to hear from you. Kevin, we're going to move right on to you next. Hi, Kevin. Tell me how
Todd.
everything is going today in Tampa, Florida.
Todd, Melissa, thanks so much for the invitation. I'm so happy and stoked to be here on your Tuesday night podcast. My name is Kevin Couture. I'm a realtor with Future Home Realty serving the greater Tampa Bay area since 2020. I got licensed during COVID, so I had plenty of time to do a lot of studying and took a lot of CE classes. And I specialize in residential single-family homes and off-market listings.
Wonderful, Kevin. Well, thank you as well for joining us, and James Sharp rounding out the panel tonight. James, it is so great to see you. Tell us what is hot in Dallas.
Yeah, thanks again, Todd and Melissa, for the invite. And besides our triple-digit heat that we're experiencing, we've been fluttering right at the 100-degree mark. The real estate market in Dallas has been also equally hot. We're on pace to have our best year ever. I've been doing the real estate for 21 years, over 2,000 kitchen tables. So a lot of kitchen tables, a lot of discussions about selling, buying, leasing. We're seeing it all here in Dallas, Texas right now.
Wonderful. James, thank you. Thank you all, and looking forward to an awesome show.
And I want to just say, Melissa doesn't have a name card, guys. You could probably guess why. I mean, her laptop is so big. I mean, she's back with her laptop. Last week, I didn't have Melissa, and I had my small laptop. In fact, my laptop was so small that you guys couldn't even see it on camera. But anyway, it's hiding her name card. But guys, we really appreciate everybody being on with us tonight. And guys, this is a live show. We already see the comments and questions blowing up. Go ahead and feel free to fill in. Try and be kind. I know some of you, are very upset. You feel like I said, that you've been deceived. It looks like real estate agents is at the top of your list, guys. And I think it's look, I think we can all understand why you're frustrated, and we share your same frustration in many ways, because I know we all deal with agents every single day in our transactions. And as a broker, I get to manage agents, and that's can be some fun too. But I want to talk about a couple things, because, I want to first address Zillow, and we're going to have an opportunity to kind of, dive in a little bit. And first, you all know, real estate searches start online. I mean, when you're looking for a home, everyone goes online, at least nowadays. I can remember when that wasn't the case. And I know, James, certainly you can remember that too. And then really going back before even the internet period, I can remember when, there were lists, and the brokerages had a list of listings, and you had to, really call around to find out what was for sale. And you think it was difficult dealing with agents. Now, you think it's difficult now. You can imagine before, when you were really stuck, you didn't have, as consumers, the internet that we have now. But I just want to go over some statistics here with Zillow, because we're going to kind of lead to a scenario, or lead to build up here the stage of, what we're really going to be addressing as probably one of the biggest deceptions in the housing market. And just to kind of go over some stats here, and look, you've got a lot of internet sites, but I want to talk about Zillow for a minute. They receive about 93.2 million unique visitors. Now, this is iProperty Management is the website we're pulling this from, and we can drop the link below in the show notes. But they are very detailed in where they pulled this information from. And I think now, this was in 2022, but in 23, I think there's somewhere around 60 million, depending on which site you go on. But the average user spends about 6 minutes and 21 seconds on Zillow. We're not going to go through all these stats here, but 3 of the top 12 most visited real estate websites belong to Zillow. And I want to just point out here too that 48% about of real estate website traffic, half of the website traffic that's related to real estate is on Zillow. And it has about 135 million properties listed in its database. Again, this is as of 2022, where we were really hot in the market last year. 67% of U.S. homes have been viewed on Zillow.com, regardless of their market status. And Zillow users view about 420 million homes per month on mobile devices. And I just want to kind of, the next slide here, go over the fiscal year of 2021. Zillow revenue was $8 billion, over $8 billion. And the important thing here that I want to kind of point out is, looking at 2020, you can see how much more revenue they had in 2021. And that was kind of like the height of all of this, overpaying, overspending that we saw in the real estate market directly related to housing. The most popular retail or real estate websites in 2022, Zillow, number 1, Realtor.com, and then Redfin and Apartments.com. And Trulia, by the way, guys, Zillow bought Trulia. And so if you combine the two sites, Zillow and Trulia alone, we're talking 110 million monthly visitors to these websites. And the reason why that is really important, guys, is because Zillow used to buy houses. And I'd like to pull up this article, What Went Wrong with Zillow, and the algorithm derailed. And guys, Zillow was buying houses. It was called Zillow Offers. And then all of a sudden they shut it down in 2021. And it says that when executives at Zillow Group poured over the company's earnings in the spring of 21, they saw a problem. The real estate firm was making too much money. It goes on to say the company's algorithm, which was supposed to predict housing prices, didn't seem to understand the market. By the summer, it had the opposite problem. The company later acknowledged it was paying too much money for homes and buying too many of them just when price increases were starting to slow. This month, Zillow conceded failure in what amounts to one of the sharpest recent American corporate retreats. It said it would close Zillow Offers, which was responsible for the majority of the company's revenue, but none of its profits. Cut above about 2,000 jobs or a quarter of its staff, and write down losses of more than $500 million in the value of its remaining homes. Goes on to say that computer-driven analysis has become mainstream in stock and bond markets, but buying and selling single-family houses has proved trickier proposition. The real estate market varies widely. I want to go on to the next paragraph. Zillow disregarded internal concerns that it was overpaying for homes, according to former and current employees. It operated in an unpredictable housing market with the pandemic fallout, helping to spark the biggest housing boom in a generation. Our observed error rate has been far more volatile than we expected possible, Chief Executive Rich Barton told shareholders, and makes us look far more like a leveraged housing trader than a market maker we set out to be. The two biggest remaining digital home flippers, Open Door and OfferPad, have shrugged off Zillow's failures, but not now, guys. They're in big trouble. But some factors that have impacted on a home's value are hard to capture with algorithms. Guys, here's my point, and we're going to open this up to the agents, but we're talking about the largest internet website for home valuations. They have been more trusted. And if we are dealing with sellers, and as we do every single day, I can't tell you how many times I've heard a seller say, Zillow says my house is worth this much money. And my question here, guys, is have buyers been misled because they're looking also when they're putting offers on houses and they're looking at Zillow's Zestimate, right? If this was a failure for their own company to identify that they were wrong, that their algorithms were mispricing houses to the point that they lost so much money and shut down their buyer program, guys, what do we say about that? James, I'll open it up with you. Tell us what your thoughts are of the articles that I just read, and how much do you think the public has trusted Zillow over the last several years?
Yeah, I would say in my 21 years of experience, it has been unprecedented to have so much faith put into one company. And I have heard that, like you, a bunch of times, Todd, where it says Zillow said my house is worth this. In fact, I've had it even today in my transaction of today's business. My Zestimate is this. And I said, well, unfortunately, Zillow is far often wrong. And more often than not, I very seldom see it spot on. And it is to the point where it's almost comical. I hate to say it, but it's almost a comic relief because it's such a known fact in our industry that it's so known to be wrong that it's hard to put any stock in it. You can't fault Zillow for doing what they do with the lead searching. I use it myself when I'm trying to find something on a property. I'll go to Zillow. I use it myself, so I know I'm part of I'm going to one of those unique users mode. But I would say, as far as what I see as a company and stuff, I think they just kind of missed the mark. And really, real estate is a tricky game, and it is very subject to very local. It's got to be boots on the ground. You got to actually, you can see a house in a certain neighborhood, so for more or less, depend on a lot of influences. And as far as I know, the algorithms are just not getting it right, Todd. They're just not.
But how much trust does the buyer public? I mean, how much do you think that influenced the buyer's decision to, to price or put their offer in on a home?
It definitely plays into it. I have seen a lot of folks, use their cell phones, pull up a Zillow report and say, hey, here's what that, Zestimate is saying today. What do you think of this? And I'll say, well, here's our multiple listing service data that kind of counteracts it. And a lot of times it's been over 100,000 or more difference. And I'm like, if it's that much difference, the buyer's then kind of like, oh, okay, I had no idea. And I had somebody today send me 3 reports saying these are active on Zillow, active listings. I wanted to go see. And I'm like, well, unfortunately, all 3 are under contract because Zillow is not updating current market information presented to them in a timely manner. So a lot of times it's a lag factor. It is misinformation. And then it's, unfortunately, sometimes the buyers don't know any different.
Yeah. How about you, Kevin? What's your opinion here?
Oh, Todd, this is a great subject, and I'm glad you picked this. I can kind of sum it up in 2 sentences. All real estate is local. A local real estate realtor knows the market, period. That being said, I look at their estimates. I look at RPR. It's for realtors to look at as well. I look at Realist. I look at 3 to 5 different algorithms when I'm doing my CMAs. I talk to my buyers about what's going on. I tell them to look at Zillow, but look at what your realtor's doing. The information they're gathering, they're likely going to be spot on and be able to give you a much better estimate. It's amazing how Zillow has grown all of a sudden, it seems like, but it hasn't. It's been going on for years. And it just might have gotten too big, for its own good.
Agreed.
And when they shut their iBuyer program down, that's kind of when it was the first shot over the bow. Something's going on in the housing market. Numbers can't react fast enough because they're not a person looking at the real estate locally.
Yeah, and a lot of people are angry at real estate investors. They think that they have really turned homeownership into something that can't be obtained because they're competing against these, iBuyers are no different, right? These internet buyers that were paying cash. And you take a company like Zillow and Opendoor and OfferPad and all these companies, and then all the Wall Street businesses. I mean, we know that 1 in 4 houses are owned by, some type of corporation in America. They're detached houses. We know that people are really upset at that, but I don't think people realize how many thousands and thousands of houses that Zillow was buying, swooping those right out from underneath you retail buyers, right? With the, intentions to, flip those properties and make more profit on them. I know that they had said something like, hey, we're not going to price gouge these sellers too bad. We're not going to ask them to take these, low offers from us. But there were fees that were involved in there and, a whole lot of other things too that I don't feel the public was, fully, it wasn't fully transparent in my opinion. But yeah, so Jess, how about you? I mean, what's your opinion on Zillow and all these iBuyers? And do you think that the public's been deceived?
So I actually think that Zillow is a great tool. And I think that that's what people really need to understand that it is. It's a tool. It's a tool for you to be able to use and to be able to see in a way that, when you all started selling real estate, 100 years ago, it just didn't exist. So I think that's great. And our housing stock in Rhode Island is really old. So the Zestimate, it doesn't account for how old is that heating system? How old is that roof? What's the electrical system? Does it have knob and tube? How can it compare that house, grandma's house that hasn't been updated in 70 years to one that's been updated and completely renovated? So buyers need to be able to understand that there's a difference, and this is just a computer algorithm, and it can serve its purpose. but it's just, it's kind of a benchmark. And like Kevin said, there's other tools that realtors need to use to be able to figure out what's the right pricing strategy. And I would say that's the other thing that the public doesn't recognize. A list price is a pricing strategy. It's not necessarily this is what market value is, because we can't predict buyer behavior. We don't know what market value is until they get to the closing table and that check has cleared the attorney's office. All we can do is try to be able to market it and get as many eyes on it. And so the Zestimate is not necessarily a reflection of that at all.
Well, they've come under a lot of scrutiny. They wanted them to get their appraisers a license in the States because they were essentially giving appraisals. And, but the thing I want to point out here, 93.49 or 93.5% of Zillow's search engine referrals are organic referrals as opposed to paid advertisements. Guys, the public has trusted this site. I mean, this is something that, these people, they didn't look to Zillow as the, as a tool necessarily. They looked at Zillow as like the gospel. And I'm concerned that they're still doing that. And,
Todd,
how many times?
Wouldn't that be our job then, to better educate the public?
Hey, Jess, you're preaching to the choir here, but my point is that how many times have you been told Zillow says this? And when we look at a poll and we look at, where so many people are angry at real estate agents, they think that we don't do anything, right? They think that we're overpaid, right? Not everybody, but we're talking about a large percentage of people. We got to be honest with one another, right? We know a lot of people, and that's because there's people in this industry that shouldn't be. It's a low barrier to entry. We have people that have no idea. They don't have a clue. I have in specific, I won't even say it, but I'm dealing with a situation right now where an agent's been in business for 7 years and can't tell me why we need certain forms, right? And multiple, and because in 7 years, maybe there's been 7 transactions, right? And of those, I mean, who knows what happened with those? But my point is that because somebody's a licensee, they hold a license to transact business. They have no idea what's happening in the last 3 months of business if they haven't done a transaction this year. And I'm looking at people all the time. I have a listing that is, on the market. I had an agent, giving me a hard time about this listing that I have. And I said, you know what? I want to see how many freaking transactions she's done this year. Zero transactions. So when we're talking about the public at large, we're not talking about Jess, Kevin, James, Todd, Melissa. We're talking about not what you guys touch every single day, because your reviews are golden, right? Your people love you. They say what you're doing. We got to get outside of that. We have to get outside of that, and we have to look at this and say, this is something that they should be educating people on. If they're making... Guys, look, in 2021, they made $8 billion, guys. They didn't do that educating the public. Okay? They did it. You know how they did it? They did it by taking our hard work, our listing data, and selling it. That's how they did it. That's the bulk of their business, is selling our leads back to us. Right? They're not educating the public the way that we should be educating the public. The problem is when you have a company that does $8 billion and they're publicly traded and their valuation is over the chart. Little old me going in somebody's house, Todd Sachs, with my 1989 experience in the housing business for 33 years. And I'm going in their house. I got to fight with this. Right? Who are they going to believe, me? Or are they going to believe Zillow? They own the real estate, the golden rule. Ye who owns the gold makes the rule, right? That's the gold. The listings are the gold, and we can appreciate that more today than ever before, I think. But that's all I'm saying, guys. Look, I think it's something that, if anything that we do here at Sachs Realty is we shout from the rooftop, man, things that need to be clear. If you're going to come down on agents, and you're going to say that agents are the problem, which is the poll, and I get all that, we got to say, look, whoa. Zillow couldn't trust their own Zestimates. It broke, guys, ladies and gentlemen. They got out of home buying because they went, we relied on our own algorithms, our own data. And let me tell you, it is thick. I've been to Zillow headquarters. Have any of you guys been to Zillow headquarters?
No.
Man, let me tell you something. I was there. I went up for a conference that they had. I have no idea how I got the invite. Well, I know how I got the invite, but I don't know why I was able to go, because I was sitting next to brokers that had 15, 18, 2,500 agents. I think I had 20. And, when they started unpeeling the onion, they opened up. I mean, they had people that came in from Washington. I was in New York. And when they started opening up and unpeeling the onion back, and I started to learn how much data they have on Americans, where they freaking go. I mean, this was before, all this cookie stuff and all the privacy things where they could track you to the end of the earth, man, in your search. When you logged on Zillow, they knew everywhere you went, everywhere you go, how many whatevers you clicked on before you bought a house. And they have 90-some thousand agents in their network, in their preferred broker program, right? Their preferred premier agent program. 90-some thousand people buying their leads. James, you just said you're one of them. But anyway, what else you guys got to say about that? That was a long
Todd,
rant. That's a Todd rant.
Todd, I would encourage anybody who's selling their property to interview more than one realtor, even me. Interview other realtors, see what they say. Whichever one you like the best and gives you the most information, the most data, go with that one. Not necessarily the first one is not always the best one. But I think at one realtor at a time, this industry can change. And I know that us on this panel, we do care. I show up and I do the work every single time, all the way through each and every transaction. And maybe the world will get out slowly but surely, and people will start having more favorable opinions of realtors. Because I love this business. I plan on doing this for the rest of my life. I enjoy it quite a bit.
Well, some people think we won't be around for the rest of our lives. Some people think maybe Zillow's going to take us over. I don't know.
Oh, no.
How about that poll again? Where's our poll? Are people still voting on the poll?
Yep.
57. Does that say 57%?
It's 57%.
We say who deceives you the most? You guys think that 57% are realtors. Jess, what do you think about that?
I'm going to go back to people really need to be better informed. And if you're going to make one of the largest purchases that you will in your lifetime, and you just pick up the phone and you click on ask the agent, because maybe you think that's the listing agent and you think that's how you're supposed to go about it, and you get some random agent who you have no idea what their experience is, no idea how many homes they've sold, no idea where their loyalties lie, and you go with that agent, then you haven't, as a buyer, you don't know what you're doing. You're either misinformed or you didn't spend the time to educate yourself. So yes, I think there's a lot that agents need to do. Certainly there's a lot more Zillow could do, but also I'm going to just keep saying it. Buyers also sellers need to take some responsibility as well. And, put on your big girl pants and make a big decision and do your research for it and find the people that are going to help you do that.
Jess, is it a surprise to you that most buyers don't interview agents?
I mean, I guess it is, except that that's not my buyer pool. Isn't like that. I would say 95% of my business comes from my past clients, and they understand that I've got a home buyer boot camp. So I have a little bit of a different perspective. I'm not really taking those Zillow leads. That's just not where my business comes from. So, but I guess that is the way it works is, otherwise how would Zillow stay afloat? Because they do rely on the agents, they're a lead gen machine, right? I just think people really need to be better educated.
It just surprises me that, the buyers will hire their, friends from college and their mom's, best friend and, whoever, Aunt Sue. And I'm not saying I'm not saying that's bad. And James, I see you, what's your take on this? I mean, you see it all the time.
I do, Todd. And one thing that I heard last week that just strikingly startled me was 40% of U.S. real estate agents have yet to sell a house all year. 40%. You hear that kind of number, it should strike a little bit of chord inside a person, especially with almost half of our real estate industry have yet to sell one deal. And just put it in perspective, we put over 50 deals together in the first half of the year. So you tell me there's a short list of experience in this industry, and I would say absolutely. Low cost of entry, low barriers to entry, that is an epidemic. But like Kevin, like Jess, I get a lot of business by word of mouth, by referrals, by personal sphere, people that know and trust me and stuff. I have never bought a Zillow lead, will never buy a Zillow lead. I don't believe in that. I believe in working by just doing my actions, let my actions speak for themselves. And when I hear that kind of stat, and I bet, just this last month, I've dealt with 3 agents that should not be in the business, Todd. They absolutely were a detriment to their client. They were a detriment to the industry, and they should be sanctioned. They were that bad. And, again, am I the real estate police? No. But I can also speak for this industry is that I love this industry. I pour my heart and soul into it. I'm a single dad, take care of 3 kids. So I have to make this. These darn kids love to eat for some reason. So it has to generate money for me and my family. And I pour everything into it, but I also work on myself with getting continued education, working on, being the absolute best agent I can. But it just strikes me when, you hear the stats of in the US, the average agent sells 4 homes a year. And so like Kevin, like Jess, do your homework, folks. If you're thinking about buying the biggest investment purchase ever, do your homework, check out that person's credentials, do some research there. The one thing I will say with Zillow is they will report that I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of sales in my little profile, which is great. But, I had to fight for them to report my known data from our own recorded MLS.
Because you weren't buying leads.
Wasn't buying leads. So they would misrepresent my stuff all the time.
Well, they had this new AI driven, program that they're testing out. We've had to call them a couple times. I mean, I have a 1.5 million listing that is showcasing across the banner on the listing. It says utility sink. I'm wondering, why are we showcasing that this 1.5 million house has a utility sink, right? And the way that their, AI is pulling data from the MLS. I mean, you go through and you list all the things that a house has. Well, of course, it has a utility. It's got a sump pump, too. Do we want to freaking put a sump pump on the cover photo on Zillow for crying out loud? It's embarrassing. I have clients that are calling me up and they're like, why do you have a utility sink on our beautiful home photo? So, I don't know if it's fixed. I know we had to just delete it from the MLS that it has a utility sink. So, guys, if you're listening, you're interested in the house, it's got a utility sink. But, the thing is, a lot of people don't realize, and we've talked a little bit about it, but guys, and Jess touched on this, people don't realize when they're calling Zillow or when they, want to see a property, right? They click to set an appointment or speak with an agent. A lot of them think that they're talking to the listing agent. And I've done Zillow leads before, and I'm telling you, you click on it, and they're like, then when you try and tell them that I'm not the listing agent, they're totally disinterested in you. They're like, I don't know why I have an agent. I don't know why I got connected with this person. And guys, this is what I'm pointing out here is they are a lead generation business that's taking money from everywhere that they can, right? But they have a public trust, and that's what I'm frustrated about. All right, Kevin, let's talk about, something that is a real big pet peeve of mine. Now, I've been a contractor since 1989. I started swinging a hammer. I've built houses. I've rehabbed houses. I've developed land, residential and commercial. And I'm not saying that to pat myself on the back, but, I have a lot more knowledge than the average real estate agent or broker has because I've taken a house and torn it down and then built it back again. And, one of my pet peeves is the home inspection process, right? And because I look at it a little bit different, but I want to dive into it a little bit because a lot of people are really pissed off that they felt like their home inspector misserved them because they got a home inspection. They did what their agent told them to do. They did what Todd Sachs has said to do, screaming from the rooftops, guys, make sure you don't buy a house unless you get a home inspection. But yet they comment in and they say, look, we had a home inspection and the home inspector was worthless. They didn't pick this up, didn't pick that up, didn't catch this, didn't catch that, blah, 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 blah. And the big thing here is, guys, is the real estate commission is loaded now with these cases of buyer remorse, where they're saying that the reason why they hate their house is because there's everything wrong with it. They bought a money pit and they overpaid for it at that. And, now they're broke and can't afford a $25,000 new heating and air system. And the common thing that we're hearing, at least my attorney's telling me, is that people are saying that their home inspector pointed something out. And by the way, guys, if you're an agent listening to this and you think that your home inspector is going to save you in court or at the real estate commission, they probably won't. So a lot of them are saying, yeah, I told them the problem, but their agent said, don't worry about that. I got a guy. And if you ask for that, you're not going to get the house. So they were like, okay, well, I guess we won't ask for it. And you got a guy. So hopefully it's not going to cost too much. Kevin, what do you think about the home inspection process? How critical are these people? How many of these people are really qualified to do it? And I'm asking a lot. How many agents wouldn't use them if they really told people what they should know? How many agents would say, you're a deal killer, I'll never use you again?
Todd, this is getting pretty deep, and I'm really glad you're going down it because it's a great subject. Just want to back up. Real estate is an arm's length transaction, and you do so much in history. You're so knowledgeable. I watch you frequently. You know quite a bit, and I recommend any agent, no matter how much time they got in the business, watch Todd Sachs and Melissa. You guys are great.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
As far as home inspectors, there's a lot out there. I get emails all the time wanting me to refer my customers to them. I refer my customers to some that I've used before, and sometimes they get their own. In fact, I like it when they get their own because it leaves me out of the loop. But if I recommend them or it's one of theirs, the inspector does his job, and he's got to sign off on it. That's the bottom line. He's documenting this big long PDF of a complete record of everything he sees, and he's covered himself as well in the whole transaction because his license is online. So I wouldn't use an inspector that would do anything shady knowingly. I would back out. I would call them out because it's me and my reputation with me and my customer that is on the line. In fact, anything that goes wrong with the transaction, I try to get in front of it to help correct it, whether it's the lender, it's the title, the inspector, or whatever is going on with the transaction.
It's interesting, and I don't know about your individual states, and you guys can speak to that, but in Maryland, home inspectors are not allowed to move furniture. I guess it's the same way everywhere. Maybe you would tell me if it's wrong. They're not allowed to move furniture, right? So I guess one of the big issue that I have is they're only testing things or checking things that they have access to. And the big thing with that would be outlets. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've had, a buyer say, or complain about, the outlet behind the couch doesn't work, or, whatever, it's got a short somewhere. Who's telling these sellers that furniture has to be moved off the walls? If somebody's getting a home inspection. Another thing is that, in Maryland, we have a lot of crawl spaces. And Jess, I don't know if it's the same way where you are with older homes, but a lot in Maryland have these crawl spaces, and a lot of these things are screwed shut. And they're not allowed to take out a screw gun and, undo a crawl, cover to a crawl space. So basically they just say was unable to inspect that, right? I mean, hey, there is an out, right? Now all of a sudden we find out the house is riddled with termite damage, and the joist. And I have a client, not a client, but somebody that called in and said, "How would you handle this?" And what happened is they bought a home, and the floor started to sag. And when they had a contractor come and they pulled the floorboards up, it was because all of the floor joists were completely eaten away by termites. Had they been able to get in the crawl space that was screwed shut, they would have known that that was the situation. So they're screwed. These home inspectors, guys, if you read, they've got a contract that's like a telephone book, if you all know what a telephone book is, because I know a lot of you listening have no idea. But it's a long list of things that protects them from actually being responsible. I had another situation most recently, one of my clients that bought a house, and the HVAC was replaced a couple years ago, but the A-coil, the air conditioning unit that sits on top, wasn't. They didn't open up the A-coil and, didn't get a heating and air contractor to come in and check the A-coil. And guess what? The A-coil was disintegrated. It was bad, but I hate to say it was one of my clients, but what happened was they didn't even mark down the age of the A-coil, which to me, they should have been responsible for. I get it. They can't cut the tape and open up the inside. My point here is that these home inspectors, some of them, shouldn't be home inspecting. Jess, what's your experience with home inspectors?
So I've got 4 home inspectors that I recommend to my clients. They all have great reports, and they all offer a warranty after the home inspection. Now that warranty is limited because, just like you just said, they've got a big book that goes over all of the things that they're not liable for. So I think that's important. A buyer has to, again, they've got to be informed and make sure they're using the right people. I do think that a home inspection gives you a false sense of security, because just like you also said, they can only see certain parts of it. And I just had a client yesterday that called me. She used a 203K loan for a 2-family. The roof is garbage. That's going to be replaced soon. But we had a ton of rain this weekend, and she had some leaking, pulled out some drywall, and there's mold behind it. That's not something the home inspectors could see, though. She didn't have a mold test. Maybe she could have had an air quality test. We did get a significant price reduction following the inspection. And so all I can do is say, okay, I'm here to help you, and let me see how we can solve this problem. And I'm going to give you one more example because it happened tonight. As a matter of fact, I just sent the contract. I have clients that are buying the home that they live in. It's a 2-family property. They've been tenants there. They came to me saying, we know our landlord's going to list the property, and we would like to put in an offer. The agent, he was already working with an agent. I know that agent very well. They weren't willing to make a deal before it hit the market, because again, they don't know what market value is, but they said, we'll let you match the best offer. So today we got the offers, and the best offer was 638, waived every single contingency. Every single contingency is waived. Now, my clients had already walked through with the contractor, and I got a home inspector over there within 2 hours of the deadline, just so they could at least have the opportunity to have a little bit of peace of mind, with the understanding that this is not a full inspection, you guys. My job is to give you the route. You're driving the bus. What way do you want to go? And they really, frankly, I thought it was pretty awful the way the seller was treating them. He really raked them over with this situation. And ultimately they decided, we want to stay here. We've been here a long time. We love it. And they agreed. And there are significant risks to that decision.
Well, and they made the decision, right? So, that's the important thing to point out is, we can only do so much as agents and advise, but they really, the buyers are the ones that are caveat emptor, right? Buyer beware.
We get a lot of waived inspections in our market right now. And
So do we.
what do buyers do? You either get the house or you don't get the house. It's such as a listing agent, I get a pre-inspection for all of my listings, simply because I would like for people to have more information. And I wish that more listing agents did that. Again, it's a little false sense of security. but at least it's something.
Yeah. I have here qualifications. Only about 2/3 of the states have laws regulating home inspectors, according to ASHI. And even where regulations exist, the range of rules is wide. In Maryland, for example, home inspectors are regulated by the Department of Labor Licensing and Regulation. They have to take a 72-hour pre-licensing class. Whoa. Man, I tell you what. I think some of the best home inspectors, and James, I want to get your opinion, but I think, and here's the thing is, I don't know why, as a contractor, I think it's always a great idea to take a contractor along with you on your inspection because, as being a contractor, and I have to be really careful because I'm not a licensed contractor anymore. So I don't want to be getting myself into a situation where I'm giving all this great advice and, what to do or what to, look for and things like that. I have to be careful because, now I would consider myself an expert in construction, 30 some years in business. But my point is that I think a contractor should go along on the inspection. And I think that there's certain other inspectors that you may want to consider getting involved as well, like a HVAC contractor that can take the A coil apart and that is licensed to do something like that if you can get the seller's permission. But James, what is your opinion on home inspectors? Do you think they give the same false sense of security that Jess is saying? And I think
I definitely see that too. But again, it's kind of like checking the references out there. I work with a group that is very well qualified. I always ask them, can you tell me, can you send me a copy of your inspection report? Block out the pertinent information, but I want to see what kind of details are they put into the report. I also like to look at what technology are they using. My inspector, for example, would probably found them mold because he has special mold testing tools. He's a mold certified inspector, which I think is important there. He also offers a guarantee. I like that. After the inspection, if something comes up, he'll make it right and stuff there. I think that's key. And the other thing is, I see a lot of times people are like, oh, you don't need to bother inspecting new construction, for example. We have a hot new construction market in our Dallas Metroplex. We're the number one new construction market in the country, in fact. And I just had a builder just tell me, like, I cannot believe you're having our house inspected. Why are you spending the people's money like this? And I said, because we'll find stuff that your subs had missed. Sure enough, 80 pages later, Todd, we found a host of stuff that was wrong. Holes in roof, disconnected, HVAC, things that were miswired. They didn't have GFCIs properly wired, ground fault circuit interrupters. I mean, there was water pooling in areas that should not have pooled. This is $1.7 million house, Todd. Are you thinking for the $600, the peace of mind that would have not had we not done that? And the listing agent was just like adamant, like, oh no, you're not going to have any issues with our house after this is done. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I had to ride that builder all the way to the finish line because they did not want to follow just basic stuff. He was not aware of even guidelines in his city that he was building it, Todd. So my inspector, really saved our bacon that day, and he has countless times. So again, it goes back to knowledge is power. The more information you can have. Now, I will also say this is a key. I had inspection done today. I helped my inspector. I had my roofer go out there and a separate pool guy go out there to complement what my guy is doing. So the collective effort of having these specialty, have an HVAC checked out specifically, spend a few bucks, have an HVAC company, have a plumber, professional plumber go out there. You would be shocked how many times we have saved deals or saved our clients a huge headache by advising them, like, hey, man, you don't want to get into this house. It's got cast iron pipes that have gone to heck. And we had not one, but multiple people saying, hey, our specialty is this, and here's why we would advise against this. Or if you go forward, get this information so that you can negotiate a proper remedy.
100%. I mean, you mentioned roofs. It's amazing to me how many home inspectors do not get on the roof now. I mean, that's like a number one question that I ask, hey, look, you're doing the home inspection. Do you get on the roof? and some of them just use drones. And, that's great to have drone photography. I get it if the roof isn't really walkable, it's a steep pitch or what have you. But roofs are expensive. And I know in Texas, a lot of the insurance covers the roof because, you have a lot of hail damage and things like that. But here, we don't really have the insurance company pay for roofs in Maryland. But the thing is you can't see the caulk, if it's dry or if they're missing, if the nail heads are missing caulk on them and areas of water penetration and things like that. So, how many layers are on a roof? A lot of people don't even look for that. I mean, you fly a drone over top, you don't know how many layers of roof are on there. Some houses we found have 3 layers of roofs, shingles on them. That's a lot of expense to strip off, and you're only supposed to have 2 layers. But, and getting back to your point on new houses, I mean, as someone that has built homes, I can tell you right now, you especially want to get a new home inspected for the reasons that you said. A lot of times these building inspectors, man, I can tell you from experience, they walk into the house with the sticker already filled out, the inspection sticker, and they're like, here you go. They're not looking at that house the way that, a home inspector is going to, look at the house. The last new house that I had, my clients bought, we had a home inspection. The door was warped. I mean, it was ridiculous. There was all kinds of issues with the house, drainage problems with the house. That builder wrestled them just because they just wanted them to settle. They're like, we'll take care of all this stuff later. The carpet was all messed up in the house. I mean, these people have been a year in the house and they have had nothing but nightmare dealing with these new home builders. Some of them are just terrible. But yeah, so... and you mentioned some other important things, sewer scopes. I mean, we have a lot, like Jess probably has, a lot of old houses. Guys, if there was a tree in the yard that was taken down 4 or 5 years ago, you have no idea, it doesn't even look like there was a tree there, have your sewer line scoped, because if there's roots in the old piping, that's something you want to definitely find out ahead of time. Melissa, do we have
Todd.
some questions? Yeah, go ahead.
I attend my inspections, but if I couldn't, I'd have an associate of mine fill in for me
Ooh, good point.
to attend. It's like daddy's there watching because I have some responsibility to my clients, and I look around. I'm even looking too, not disturbing them, but when it gets to the end, did you see this? Did you see this? How about that? So,
2 things that, in my opinion, COVID changed in home buying. One is people aren't showing up. Agents aren't going to the home inspection. And I'm not picking on any of you guys. I don't know whether everybody goes to every inspection or whatever. I never miss a home inspection. This is not something that should, I mean, they're like, well, I've had 8 arguments with agents where they say, well, I don't do home inspections because I'm not a home inspector and it's not my job and I've got other things to do. Whoa. These are the people that the public are mad at because they feel like they let them down and they've made too much money and they haven't done their job, in my opinion. I mean, my gosh, a 3-hour home inspection. You don't have time to go on that and be able to look at this thing yourself, to talk to the seller's agent and say, look, I was there. I saw it. We got a problem. We need to work on this. We need to go over this. I want to see it firsthand. Good point, Kevin. Mm-hmm. All right, what do we got? I know we got a lot of questions.
We got a lot of questions. I'm going to start with some comments here first. We had this viewer say, this happened to us. Our inspector pointed out a roof issue. It was fixed, but 6 months later, the roof leaked. After 6 years, it is still leaking. The seller, who was an agent, patched the roof. We also have Sue Hill, who is actually one of our agents here. Tip, when you do a home inspection, check the weather. If it calls for rain, then that's the day you want to do it. That was his recommendation as well. We did have some questions here about current market. What do you guys think the home prices, do you guys think the home prices will go down back to 2019 prices?
Everybody's shaking her head. No.
Oh my
You're
gosh,
saying
I wish.
no.
We'd have to have maybe Zillow can tell us. Maybe we'll ask our friends over at Zillow to say, hey guys, since you help inflate, this the market along with your Zestimate that you couldn't trust. I mean, that's my opinion anyway. Maybe Zillow can tell us if the market is going to come down. I mean, 40%, guys, 40% in 2 years, home prices across the country skyrocketed. As much as we'd like to say that they're going to drop down between the 2019 numbers, I doubt it.
What are you guys
I'd buy 'em all
seeing
up.
as far
Great.
as your different markets and price declines, percentages wise? What are you guys seeing?
There was a little bit of drop early part of the year, but it seems like the prices are going back up now. There's so little inventory for the buyer at 300, the buyer at 500, the buyer at $1 million. There's just hardly anything to choose from. The turnkey homes, they're going pretty quickly. Sometimes they're going over list. And the homes that are out there usually are on the market for multiple days. And that's what I suggest some of the buyers do, is get a home that's been on the market for a while that might need to be a new kitchen or painting, carpeting, etc. I think those are your best deals.
James, you were saying you're not seeing any declines?
No, we're up 24.5% in the last 3 years. Since 2020 of June to 2023, it's over 24% up. And that has been unprecedented because as long as I've been selling real estate the last 21 years, we average 3 to 5% a year. So to see that about double. So yeah, unfortunately, Crystal, I don't see it going back to 2019. I'd love to go back to 2019 prices and buy a bunch of property right now, and sell it today, but it's just not happening.
Yeah. And
Doubtless.
Jess, with you being in the Northeast, what's going on? What are you seeing?
Same. I mean, and particularly in Rhode Island, we're a big draw for a lot of people that are moving down from Boston, especially since remote work has opened up. Rhode Island to Boston is a terrible commute, but now that so many buyers don't have to make that commute and they're priced out of the market in Boston, Rhode Island looks very appealing. Plus some people from New York. So we still have just a lot of people moving into the state. In January, our median sale price for single families was $295, and right now it's $442. So we've seen a pretty steep up. It'll probably tick back down, as we all know. It's seasonal, but we'll probably end the year at 410 as our year to date, and last year is about 400 for overall for the single family.
Jess, what are you seeing on days on the market? I mean, are you seeing any kind of lengthening of days on the market, or is that still?
No, as of this month, we're at 25 days on market for the month of July. June was very similar. Things are still going very quickly. It's slowed down a little bit. A lot of buyers in July get burnt out, and then people go on vacation. And so it's slowed down, but we're still seeing that still means instead of 10 offers, we're at 5 offers. We just have such a housing shortage here, nationally. I know this is a national issue, but in Rhode Island in particular, we rank almost last in the number of units that have been built since 2012.
What do you attribute that to?
We don't have a lot of space. We're so densely populated. There really isn't. There's also not the infrastructure. If you go out into Western Rhode Island where people just don't want anything to change, you'd have to change zoning laws. You'd have to bring in sewers. You'd have to bring in water. If they add, if you put in a big complex and you put in a well, that's going to affect your neighbors. We've had those issues. There was a development that was very contentious, and some of the neighbors' wells went dry. They had to refrac them. So it's really not as simple as, there's lots of land, go build. Our inner city really needs to change the zoning and allow for, some of those garages to be turned into apartments. It needs, who has the solution? I don't see anybody really talking about it.
Yeah. Well, what you just said, I mean, geez, you drill a couple wells and build a couple houses and drain other people's wells. I could see where they would be a little upset at that.
Yeah.
I mean, your property value is worth nothing without water. It's a small incidental there that you have good drinkable water and you can take a shower. What else we got?
So we had a very good comment here. Kind of because there isn't an MLS that everyone can really access. So we had a comment here, well, there is a reason so many people go to Zillow for information. If the MLS was available to everyone, then perhaps Zillow wouldn't be so popular.
Man, now we're starting to talk about the class action lawsuit, maybe. Jeez,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's, James is going, let's do it.
Let's do it, baby.
Right. I mean, that's the whole, a lot of this.
Gloves tonight. Yeah.
Oh man, we're like just lighting everything on fire, aren't we? I mean, we're just burn everything down tonight. I mean, the thing is, yeah. I think this is one of the big, contentions is that, who holds the keys to the kingdom of all of this data? And, I mean, look, agents spend a lot of money, right, in MLS fees, and we could all complain about it. You guys think all you see is the money. You look at, what you think real estate agents make, but then you don't know what the fee side of things are. And, we pay pretty dearly to be able to bring the information to the public, to Zillow, that turns around and sells it back to us. And they're not the only ones, Trulia, which they own. And then there's, let's not forget realtor.com, homes.com. I mean, there's the list goes on. But it's funny because, these sites are aggregating the data, and I get it, right? Where do you go for your information? Especially when your real estate agents need to sleep. And, these sites are, 24/7. So we wake up in the morning and somebody's saying, Todd, why didn't you send me these 3 listings that I saw overnight while you were in bed? But what do you guys think about that? I mean, what do you think? I mean, should Zillow be in the profit business of the service that they're providing? Should there be something that NAR here? Oh gosh, don't get me started. Oh man, that reminds me. We had a sales meeting here a couple of months ago, and we had Bright MLS, and poor guy's he's probably not listening because he's like the last thing he wants to do is hear my voice. But anyway, our old rep retired, I think, because of us. Not actually. I think it was just because he wanted to retire.
Yes.
But anyway, we got a new rep, and he came in all excited. He wanted to tell us about this awesome new app that our MLS came up with. And oh my gosh. And boy, when he left the office, we just screwed ourselves, because if we ever need any tech support, we're basically out on we're on our own. But anyway, so he wanted to show us this great app, and I was like, are you kidding me? That thing is more antiquated than our MLS alone. I mean, my gosh, it's like technology is like 50 years ago before there was the internet. But my point is that these other sites have all the tech. They have all the apps, all the tech. They give them all the information, fantastic, in short order, fantastically, and even if it does say utility sync on $1.5 million listing. But my point is that, where's it going with this? Other than, our own MLS is so antiquated, so you don't necessarily want to rely on them to provide you with the data. But what's the answer, guys? Shouldn't our MLS, I was kidding, I knew where I was going. Shouldn't our own MLSs that we spend billions of dollars, shouldn't they have the best site out there for people?
You would think, Todd, but again, it's kind of the necessary evil of our industry. So we need to have a central depot of information that we all subscribe to that says, hey, I put in there truthful, accurate information, all the pictures and everything, and I have, the right to do so for my principal. But sometimes, you kind of look at the forest from the trees saying, really, this is what we got? This is the best our money can buy? And I've been paying for 21 years. So if anyone got an axe to grind, it's like me. I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars, and this is what I get. And especially in 2023, the access to information is unprecedented. I mean, I could go to this little palm device in my hand and find anything about anything in the world that's out there. So I would counteract to, yes, MLS is truly available to you. You just probably don't see it because it's repackaged in other methods of madness. I mean, there's a ton of real estate agents, that myself included. Like, I have direct MLS access. Our own company, Sachs Realty, has a nationwide MLS access because we're in all 50 states. And so we have access to all the MLSs across the United States. And You just got to know what you're finding. But the information is only as good as the person put in the stuff. So obviously, if you put in wrong data, there's that comment. And you see it all the time. You see horrible information put in, erroneous information there. I'm constantly, every single week, I'm fighting, hey, you guys didn't report this properly. They don't report our sales. They don't report the information proper and stuff. And like you found, hey, you're taking my information and repurposing it for this purpose, and it's misrepresenting to the public. So yeah, we could go on this rant, and yeah.
I got one for you.
Yeah.
I got one for you here. You guys, you'll find this very surprising. Backward-looking data. Man, why is it that I have to wait? If we try and actually find out market trends, I mean, this is like crazy, right? So we get the market data 2 weeks after the end of the month. So I've got to wait all the way to the end of July. I've got to go into August 16th before I can look at July's data, or at least try and get these trend lines, right? And what's going on, right? And and look, let's give credit where credit's due, because I've challenged them, guys. If you probably can imagine, I'm a little bit of a rebel. So I mean, I've challenged a couple things from time to time. I don't like to take things just for what somebody says. But anyway, the reason why I was told that we get that data so backward looking is because you got to give real estate agents enough time to update the information. You got to give them enough time. Right? Guys, we know that if you don't do it in a timely fashion, you get a fine. Right? But anyway, so let's talk on, because I want to touch what James said. Should I talk? Should I? I should.
Yeah, why not? I mean, we don't have to go like deep, but
it's funny because I'm like, okay, I'm adding up the money on the MLS. I'm like adding it up, and I'm like, okay, my gosh, there's a lot of money. Why didn't I invent the MLS? I don't, So I look at it and I go, wow. So I happened to call Bright MLS, and I said, look, I'm just kind of curious. Like, could you guys tell me what percentage, or like on the balance sheet, on the P&L, whatever, income statement, whatever. Could you show me how much goes back into technology? And they said, oh, well, you're a member of the board, the local board, and the local boards own the local MLS. I mean, they own the MLS, right? So you're entitled to that information. Wrong. So I actually called them up. And I look, whoever's dog's barking, man, he's with me 100%. This dog is like, man, this guy is onto something here, right? So I asked, like, where's all this money go? And they said, well, you're not entitled to know. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. Anyway, I know I got to behave myself. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I got to behave myself tonight.
So we have a different. We've got Matrix. That was my dog. Somebody's shooting off fireworks, and he does not approve.
Doesn't like it.
We've got Matrix, and I actually do like our MLS Matrix, but I do agree with you that the technology could certainly be improved. But I put people on a search through MLS and say, let me get you off of Zillow, because you're gonna have much more accurate information. It's collaborative. I can see what you're doing. You can leave me notes. I can really help you a lot more, and that's part of our system. And we also have access. This is where your agent should know how to seek the data and not wait for the data. They should know how to be able to figure out, I can answer the days on market because I pay attention to it and I know where to find it. Agents that don't know where to find it are going to wait for those press releases to come out to say,
oh, I'm not talking about that, Jess. I'm not talking about that. Yeah, I'm talking about trends. I'm talking about, neighborhood trends. I'm talking about, price declines.
Ours gives us all of that here.
I mean, it's very cumbersome. Maybe Matrix. I had Matrix, okay, but it's very cumbersome digging into the data. I mean, I'm paying for a service.
Yes.
If I was a stockbroker, I don't even need to be a stockbroker. I can look on right now, where the market is live, and I can tell you what my stocks are doing up to the penny, right? And every second, blow by blow. We are in the largest financial market, one of the largest financial markets on the globe. On the globe is the housing industry. Everyone needs one, and I can't expect that from my own MLS, my own industry. I can't expect to get the information on a drop of a hat, I got to sit there and spend 3 hours trying to export data in today's technology era. I mean, give me a freaking break, man. I mean, seriously, but no, we had Matrix. We went to, Bright. But I mean, I honestly, and I just, our time, boy, we don't make enough money to be data analysts too. And my gosh, we're out there trying to, pick up the pieces from what other people are putting down, right? All right, let's keep going.
Well, a follow-up on that. What about this question? Would each of you support the opening up of all MLSs to the public? If not, why not? I mean, what if there was a subscription account that a consumer could get? What are your thoughts on that?
I think as licensed realtors, there's a lot of information the public doesn't care to know, would be bored to death to know it, that us five love it. We don't mind knowing about surveys and about home inspections and things like that. The public, they would be doing themselves a disservice to go in there and buy a piece of property without somebody licensed by the state they're in to help guide them and help them along. It's not like buying a pizza or a bicycle.
Yeah, well, if the
a big
MLS,
deal.
yeah, well, and you're right. But if the MLS did have a better public facing side that would compete with these other lead generation businesses, but it's not smart for them to do so because these lead generation businesses pay so much money. So we have a great, and just to kind of segue here, so we have a new website that is, we're trying to get through the bugs. I know you guys are like, will you ever see it? Yeah, I mean, Joe can pull it up and show you guys. And it exists, it's real. But so I wanted to find out exactly what it would cost for me to be able to have a Zillow, essentially, right, on our website. I was like, if Zillow does it, I mean, my gosh, if they can, you could search anywhere in the country, right, real estate, then why can't I have it on my website? So it was amazing. Well, there's over 1,000 MLSs in the United States, and to get all of the data was about $112,000 a month is what I would have to pay. Little old me would have to pay just to be able to have people search all across the country on one platform. So, I mean, when we're talking about, a company like Zillow, and it's all based on, how many hits and things like that they're getting, a lot of it, their pings, being able to IP ping, a user sitting in, Oklahoma, wherever, they're making a lot of money with this, right? So why would they cut off? And now Zillow is a broker they've gotten their broker license in every single state, including the District of Columbia, right? So it's just kind of like, we're talking about something that, it doesn't make sense to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens after these lawsuits, guys. I mean, look, if anything happens and, big class action lawsuits going on right now, any broker can be named at this point. I mean, major brokers across the country are pulled into this thing and without prejudice. So they can add brokers to it. And basically what's happening is the first one I think is coming up in October. The bigger of the two is coming up in probably the first quarter of next year, regardless of what the outcome is, whether the defendants or the plaintiffs win or lose. This is going to bring a lot of public attention to what we do. We've got the DOJ that's back involved with, National Association of Realtors. They had struck a deal at one point. Now the DOJ, for whatever reason, feels that they've got to get back into it. They're not satisfied with just disclosing what buyer commissions are on consumer-facing sites because a lot of people think that they were, buyer agents were free. So, shout from the rooftops, commissions are negotiable. That's the biggest thing, right? But we're going to see a lot open up here over the next couple of years, I believe, with transparency, consumer transparency. And I tell you what, guys, I think for the agents, like what you're seeing on the screen here, guys, for the professionals in the industry, this is going to be a good thing. Because whether you think a house can sell another house a house, no matter what happens with AI, I doubt it, you're going to need good representation. And there is no one better to do that than a neighborhood expert, a realtor, boots on the ground that knows the industry inside and out. And I'm telling you guys that. And for our clients that have experienced it, they'll tell you the exact same thing. So when we're looking at the 1.6 million licensees, or 1.4 now because a couple 100,000 have exited, how many of those? James just said 40% of those haven't done a transaction this year. So I get your frustration, guys. I get it. But you can't say that we're all bad because we're bringing you all this information. So you would have to say that what we're giving you is not valuable. And I like to think that it is.
Mm-hmm. So we did have a question here.
And I'm not going for president of the United States. So don't even bother putting me on the poll.
And Charlton just said, Todd, rant number 4. So he's
Rant
keeping,
number 4,
he's keeping track.
He's
But,
counting.
Yeah.
We love him. We appreciate you counting my rants.
But we did have another question about the MLS. So what info is in an MLS that is missing from Zillow and Realtor, et cetera?
Everything that agents don't put in. How about it, guys? Garbage in, garbage out. Because some of these agents don't make enough money, guys, they feel that it's too time consuming to actually fill in the information. This is the great thing, right? So when you're sitting there at 2 o'clock in the morning and you're trying to find a house for sale and you're like, well, why doesn't this listing look like Sachs Realty's listing? Well, it's because we didn't enter it. But it's amazing. Garbage in, garbage out.
Mm-hmm. Got Cameron here with the super cash. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
Very much. Before everyone leaves, agents.
$20, man.
I know. So generous.
So generous. Thank you so much.
I'm going to have
I'm
each
buying
of
you guys. We're going to have snow cones for everybody. We're just going to have to eat them remotely. Okay?
I know. It's
and
so
they're going
hot
to
in
be
here.
from Cameron. We appreciate you, man.
Yes.
Now you guys are going to be looking for your certificates or gift certificate somewhere. We'll have to have. We'll actually get on a Zoom call, and I will. Cameron is going to buy us snow cones.
I like that. It's perfect.
Ice cream cones, some kind of cone.
All right. I'm going to go around to each one of you. Are we in a housing bubble? Jess, go.
No, we're in a cyclical real estate market, and we will continue to see prices incrementally go up, not to the extent that they went up between 2020 and 2021. But I think that we're in this cycle for at least the next 5 years, if not beyond.
Kevin, your thoughts?
I agree with Jess too. Also, there's just not much inventory. Interest rate pressure. We're at 7%. It's not looking great. People are getting scared of the information that's out there with interest rates going up. So I think their prices are going to stay steady, maybe go up some the rest of the year, at least in Tampa.
And James?
Yeah, absolutely not. I was in real estate in 07, 08, 09 when we had the really, crash in the market of real estate where prices just cratered and stuff there. We have such a different market setup now. There's, like Jess said, we got shortage of inventory. Rates are going to be coming down, folks. Just hang in there and stuff there. I always say, you're marry the house, date the rate, So right now, of course, a lot of people are like on the sidelines. I have, clients every day, like, hey, I'm just going to wait till the market crashes and then I'll pick up the deal. I'm like, you're going to be waiting a long, long time, brother. It ain't happening.
All right, I guess I'm up.
It's your turn, Todd.
I think we're in a huge bubble. So I'm going to disagree with all you guys, respectfully so, and we'll find out what happens in the final analysis. I will say this, a couple things. So, what we have noticed is that we're not in the craziness that we were in, at least locally here in Maryland. And I know, I follow a lot of the Sunbelt states, and I know that, the issue is we're still hovering somewhere around 6 million sales this year. It's the same number, by the way, as like 2019. When we're looking at across the country, people say that we're in an inventory shortage. We're in a situation where the houses are being absorbed quicker. It's not. We're still getting the same amount of sales that we got in 2019, but the difference is that they're not sitting on the market as long. So that has affected certainly the house prices, and the demand has shot up. And the number one reason the demand has shot up is because we watched interest rates go down for the first time ever in the history of the United States to 0%. That was how much it cost banks to borrow money from Uncle Sam, our federal government, okay? That was the number one reason that ran this thing up to 40%. Never in the history of the United States have we had a 40% increase in housing in 2 years. Never. Not even in 06, 07, and the crash of '08, or that led up to the crash of '08. What I will say is this: we're in an everything bubble, right? We're in a situation where we had the stock market do great, the housing market has done great, the auto market has done great. We're one at a time watching the cards fall. Automotives in the freaking tank, man. We're going to see one of the biggest busts of commercial real estate that we've ever seen. These regional banks aren't even prepared for it. Trust me when I tell you this. That's why the federal government has set aside $4 trillion to bail out banks, because they know what happened on March 12th is because interest rates are going up. They ain't never coming down to where they were before again. And that's my money. And I'm sticking to it. But we'll see. I mean, hopefully we'll see what happens. I think from somebody that's been in the housing industry since 1989 in one aspect or another, 4% rates are ridiculous. 2.75% rates are ridiculous. They are unsustainable. It's unsustainable. The banks, I mean, they can't. First of all, we know that credit tightening is coming down the pike even more. There's talk right now that the top banks are going to have even more, a stiffer criteria on them than these regional banks have. And that's something that's, in Bloomberg. I was reading the article this morning. So in July, I forget what the date is. Maybe it's July 27th. These new banking laws are going to come out. Guys, Google it and check it out for yourself. You're going to find out that they are, and it's going to affect home mortgages, and you're going to find out where there's going to be less money in the market. It's going to be riskier for people with what's going on in the economy, man, for these investors to invest in real estate mortgages for 4%. Ain't going to happen. I think we're looking at 7-8% is here to stay for quite some time. You guys weren't expecting that, were you? You didn't listen to the Toddcast.
It's getting hot in here.
It is.
But I love you guys. I hope you're right. Believe me, I always say I don't want to be wrong. I don't want to be right. I don't want to be wrong. James wants me to be wrong because he wants to buy up all the real estate when it dips down. Or Jess, I think she said that too.
How about this one? Would it be a mistake if I put my home up for sale? They're talking about the Austin market, which obviously is a different market. But what do you guys think of that? I mean, James, you're in Texas, so you'd probably have a better idea maybe of the Austin market. So what do you think about that?
There's a couple factors that go into it. Obviously, do you have to sell? There's some people that just want to kind of, hey, can I get $1 gazillion for my house? That's always a good dream, right? Is this the market for that? Probably not. A couple of years ago, probably, where you just kind of like have your pick of whoever. But the Austin market is still very strong. I have friends down there. We send referrals to Austin agents all the time, so I know it pretty well. Just talked to an Austin agent a couple hours ago, and he says he's having a banner year. So he, like a lot of agents there, would probably guide you through that process. Like, hey, what's your motivation to sell? What do you need from it? Are you looking to make $1 gazillion from it? Or are you looking for a reasonable return? If it's in a good area, good condition, price precise, it will sell. Absolutely. Included in Austin, for sure.
And Lemon Drop, thank you so much for your super chat there. Really appreciate you.
Yes, thank you very much. And we did have one more. I know I saw the Duke here. Want to take a moment.
Hey, man, he just bought a house.
Yes, he did.
Yeah,
and
congratulations.
Thank you, Todd, for the service you provided. It's been priceless for me. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we appreciate you, man. You have been diehard. You have been following us for quite some time and a great contributor to our channel. And we're really excited that you finally found a home. And so congratulations to that. Thank you so much for your super chat. We really love the community, guys. And one thing I want to say about the agents that are on the screen here, I mean, they are part of our preferred agent network. definitely cruise on over to the YouTube channel, show them some love, subscribe to their channel. I mean, each one is so unique and very dedicated to this business. And, we don't want to surround ourselves with anything but the best and the most professional out there. And just because we have a difference of opinion of, what the market's going to do, every market is specific. And, it really comes down to, real estate is a lifestyle. I mean, so when you're buying a home, you're really buying more than just a home. You're buying a lifestyle. And we know many of you you're frustrated. I think 53%, I think, is the current number of renters can't afford to buy a house right now. Probably the other 40% just can't find something to buy. I think, there's a couple things that are under attack right now. Airbnbs, boy, you guys have lit me up on that. I had a couple of and points well taken, and I can handle it. But when we were talking about Airbnbs, my main thing was talking about I don't like the fact that the government can come in and take property rights away from property owners. That's the foundation of all of the talk that was surrounding Airbnb. But I think what we're going to see, Airbnb revenues are down. We know that for a fact. At least, it's under attack. We know that a lot of municipalities are, banning them. So I think, we may see, a couple 100,000 of these houses become for sale. And, you may just get your whole house equipped with furniture and everything. So if you're a first time buyer and you don't have anything, watch what you wish for, because you may have an opportunity to come up and buy something that's fully furnished with a pizza cutter. I don't know why I said that, but I mean, it's, I like pizza.
Yeah. Yes.
Stay at Airbnb and they don't have a pizza cutter.
You guys, where do you see the real estate industry in 5 years?
Wow.
Kevin, I'm going to start with you.
I see it being streamlined. Maybe in the future, buyers won't need an agent. They'll give them the information up front, make them sign off on it, and simplify the process. It could be just the way it naturally is going to happen, that from these lawsuits comes simplification of the house buying process. But they've got to do their due diligence if they are going to tackle it on their own. Same as a for sale by owner, similar to that.
Mm-hmm. Jess, what do you think?
I think it's a relationship business and it's very personal. I don't see agents being taken out of the transaction. I do think there's going to be a lot of pressure on commissions to go down. We're already seeing that here. And I think that there's a good chance that that will continue. I think that that will also mean that it's not a very good job for part-time agents. So you'll see more highly specialized agents that are highly knowledgeable, and that's why they get the business versus, everybody's like, I love houses, I can sell a house.
Mm-hmm.
Amen.
James, how about you?
I definitely see a lot of tech coming in the industry in the next 5 years. I mean, we've heard all about ChatGPT, the AI. I think that's going to be embraced by several of the big real estate companies. Our company included, EXP, is really embracing. In fact, our next conference in Las Vegas in October is going to be themed about artificial intelligence and how that's going to be embraced in our company and to serve our real estate constituents, our buyers and sellers across all the countries that we serve. So I think it's going to be a total game changer next 5 years. I think you're going to see a lot of conglomerations of big companies getting bigger and a lot of smaller boutiques getting more boutique. And there's going to be, kind of just a fewer players in the industry. But I think it is going to be a professionals market in the next 5 years, but absolutely.
What do you all think about, and I'm going to come back because I want to give my 2 cents on where I think it's going to be in 5 years. But what do you all think about blockchain technology and title companies? You think there will be any title companies in 5 years?
I studied the blockchain a little bit last year. I think it has a place in real estate for sure, definitely, but it's not ready to be adopted. Too many people need to get trained on it. It's a huge learning curve, a lot of legalities involved in it, but I do see its place in real estate for sure.
They got to scan all their documents in too. I think Delaware is one of the first states that's actually using the blockchain technology. And but it will be interesting because, I mean, when we're looking at something like, Bitcoin or digital currency, we know that that is really what's protecting, the, I don't, if you want to call it asset, but and it's interesting because we pay a lot for title work when we're looking back, so really what they're really doing is only going back from the last time that property has changed hands, because it's really easy to, rely on what the prior, research has been on the property as far as, liens and things like that. So we're really talking about current stuff. And, but I think it's really going to threaten title companies, and maybe there will be a handful of title companies that execute the bulk of, the settlements. But where do I think things are going to be in 5 years, guys? I think that buyer agency is going to be a thing of the past. I think that, and I know that's really drastic to say something like that, but I think the biggest thing, and so here's the thing, I think there's all good in transparency. And I think that, the public we should be held to a higher standard of transparency. And I understand why they feel like they've been misled or misguided, or why they think that things are fixed, right? And it's because a lot of, the way things have been over and over and over. And commissions are not fixed, by the way, guys. One thing I want you to understand is that in order to put a property on the MLS, you need to cooperate $1 as a listing agent. But the argument is, will anybody show your house? And, because, of the way that things are currently set up. But I think that what's going to happen is buyer agency never used to exist. Okay, 30 years ago, basically what happened was you had an agent you thought represented you, but they actually didn't. They worked for the seller. And somewhere along the line, they said that that's really not fair, that a buyer should have a right to representation. So basically the way that it's been is that you get a listing, the listing broker gets the commission, they cooperate with a buyer's brokerage, and that's the way things go. And, of course, in this class action lawsuit, they want to say that the buyer pays the commission, and depending on how you argue it, you could sit there and say, well, no money exchanges hands. Nobody makes any money unless a buyer buys a piece of real estate. But then you have appraisals. The house has to appraise and things like that. The question is, guys, is that if they are successful in this lawsuit and they break up buyer agency and they say that it's up to the buyer to pay for their agent, America has less than $5,000 in their bank account. Don't believe me when I say that? We've got, the elitists have 95% of the wealth in America, and the rest of us share 5% of the wealth. Guys, people don't have money. That's why there's things like seller contribution, right? That's why people are struggling to buy a house right now. Now, when you tell that buyer that they got to kick out money for a buyer's agent, well, the lenders are like, oh, don't worry about it. We'll stand behind and still give money to these people because we'll roll in the commissions into their mortgage payment. Okay. You get my point. So, guys, I'd say watch what you wish for in this. If they are successful in this case, I think ultimately that may be bad for buyers. And ultimately, we may be just bypassing. Now, look, I get it, guys. A lot of you sit there and say, well, my buyer's agent didn't really do anything anyway. All they did was, I called them up and told them I wanted the house. And they said, well, you got to be $100,000 over list price. You don't get any inspections. You can't ask for anything. And let's go ahead and submit an offer quick. But you may have to pay $50,000 over appraised value. I get it. There's frustration there, right? But, now that madness is over, the scrutiny's back on, and we could argue the listing agents too. All they had to do was get the listing and put it on the internet, and they got 65 offers, traffic jam on Sunday's open house. Anyway, let's take a couple more questions, and we'll let all these good people. James, I can't feel sorry for you, man, because you're like an hour difference in time. So, while we're all, poor Kevin and Jess, it's like 8:30 where you are. You're probably still have another transaction to do after this.
This is a hot topic right now about the student loan repayment. Starts in September. Many companies mandated employees back to the office 4 days a week from September. Will these events affect housing to the downtown area? September seems a key date.
You know the kind of scrutiny I took for saying that we
I
shouldn't
know.
pay off student debt.
Oh, I know.
I don't know what you all feel about that, but guys, look, you know what? Look, I get it. Universities make way too much money, and you got to take all these bogus classes to get to the other classes. I've bought a couple bricks in schools, okay? I can tell you in these universities, I can tell you that if you signed up for it and you made the debt, I believe you're responsible. Now, the state of Maryland feels the exact opposite. And if you make a certain amount of money and you buy a house, they'll give you $50,000, guys, in grant money to pay off those student loans. So long as if you owe $54,000, you bring $4,000 to the settlement table. What do you all think about that? You may not want to get yourselves in trouble like I do. Todd, you're standing
Todd, I
on
think
your own.
it should be fair if somebody gets student loan credit, everybody gets it. As long as everybody gets the same fair shake, I got no problem with it.
Well, you're going to
But if
give
they don't-
everybody their money back in perpetuity? I mean, we're going to go
I
back
think you'll
and
have to retroactivate it, yeah.
Wow.
Otherwise, it's just not fair.
So people
somebody-
in their 70s may get their $7,000 back.
Something,
I mean, that's probably what it was, 50 years ago.
yeah.
Jess, what do you think?
Hey, I don't think life's fair, and I don't think everybody gets a fair shake. I think it depends on a lot of factors of where you grow up. So I, for one, actually am in favor of student debt forgiveness. I think a lot of that money goes back into our economy and generates more money that otherwise wouldn't be there. So
And
I
that'd
tend
be
to
all right if they penalize the university.
Hey, sure, let's do that too.
I don't think they're going to do that. They're
No.
not going to go back to the universities. I think the taxpayers
Probably
are going to
not.
pay it.
You know, I mean, you look at in Providence, Rhode Island, our property taxes are insanely high. And then you look at RISD and Brown University, who are not contributing, but yet own a significant portion of the real estate. So, there are many layers to these issues. And there's not it's as easy as this. But I do think millennials in particular have massive amounts of student debt. They were sold that they were going to get a great job in a certain industry that then got oversaturated, and that great job is barely covering their expenses, and they can't afford to buy a house. How do we solve that? At the end of the day, taxpayers are going to have to solve it.
Tell them to learn how to do heating and air and plumbing and electrical work, and they can make
trade schools
they can
are
go
super
out and make
expensive now too,
$100,000.
I do agree with that. But however, the trade schools are also very expensive now too.
They could go through apprenticeships.
Yeah, well,
They could swing a hammer like I did. Hey, I tell you, I'll tell everybody. I went to college for a semester and a half. I actually was in. I'll tell you all this because I mean it's some story. So I actually had a construction business, and I was, I started cutting lawns when I was a kid, man. I mean, I had to make money, right? And so anyway, I was sitting in a community college. I was sitting in business law, and my professor was talking about corporations. You got S corps and C corps and LLCs, and I had a beeper, and my beeper was going off, and I kept looking at it. I'm like, man, I got to make a call. I got employees out there doing jobs. I went out to lunch and never came back. I said to my mom, I said, hey, look, man. She said, what's going on? And with school? You haven't been going to school? I said, yeah, I'm not going back. She's like, why? I'm like, Mom, I'm making too much money freaking doing jobs. I can't sit there as some professor tell me how to set up an LLC. I mean, that was ridiculous in my, at least for me. It wasn't for me. School wasn't for me. I'm all about a formal education, guys. You go out, you get a formal education. How many students are out spending money on jobs that they are pressured? I mean, you're like 13 years old or 11 years old, and like, what do you want to do for a living? Well, you've got good math scores. You could be an engineer. Do you want to be an engineer? Do you want to be an architect? Do you want to be? I'm like, dude, I'm 11 years old. Back off. Right now, all of a sudden, you get to be 18. And you gotta know where you're going to go to college. You got to know what your major is going to be. Look, I get it, guys. I'm not bailing out people that made bad decisions, and I don't care. I just, in my opinion, I'm not for it. If you made a decision, you live by it. You do what's right. That's my 2 cents. That may be like $1.50, but anyway, what do you think, James?
I think the blessing of having student loans to begin with. I mean, think about it. I have 3 in college right now. So, I mean, I would appreciate any help there. Thank you very much. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get you.
I just think it's a privilege to be able to borrow that money to improve yourself. I wish I had that still in this day and age. I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on my formal education. Much after I got my formal bachelor of business degree, I've literally spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in coaching and programs to better myself and to grow myself. So I think when somebody says, hey, man, I don't want to repay for this betterment, I'm like, well, that's kind of silly in my book. And so I'm all for, you borrow the money, Now, I would also say, hey, if there's hardship, if there's something that keeps you from repaying it, reach out to them. I know every time I've reached out to somebody I owe money to, hey, can we work out a payment plan? Can we structure this? Can we do something? They're always say yes. When we had all these houses go back in foreclosure, I know kind of tangent a little bit, but 68% of people never contacted the bank once. They just said, oh, forget it, we ain't paying you. And the bank never knew they were going through a hardship. So that's kind of the whole thing I think here too. If you have a student loan and you can't repay it, reach out to the lending institution. I am pretty confident to say they would have some sort of forbearance or some sort of restructuring or put it off till you get back on your feet. And to me, I just don't think we should have to bail out everybody. I mean, what we do, we gave out so much money in the last couple of years. We printed money we didn't have to do stuff that we're all going to pay decades in our generations, or generations of kids are going to pay. So I'm just like, let's get after it. What it is, let's get a job, get after it, get to work. I found a way to pay. I'm a single dad, take care of 3 kids. I don't have any other help. And I'm paying these kids' college degrees and putting them in college. So I want a better life for them,
And the argument to that is, and what fills up in the comment section is, well, what about all the businesses that got bailed out with PPP money? Guys, look, there's a lot of freaking fraud in that too. I'm not for that either, just for the record.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not for bailouts. Period.
Yep. Big companies get hundreds of millions of dollars. That's stupid. That was absolutely stupid. So
100%. I mean, look what happened, and we could go on and on and on and talk about AIG and all that stuff back in the '08 crisis, and I mean, GM, how all the shareholders were taken down. It became government motors. I mean, we could go on and on and on, right? But I'm not for bailouts. I think if you can't run your business and you go out of business, you deal with whatever comes your way. All right, what else? Well, one more question, and then we'll call it a night. I promise.
So at the top of the show, we had a question here. What's up with Zillow? Just tonight, I got a phone call informing my house is listed for $280,000 and I am not selling. What are your thoughts on that? What's going on?
Welcome to the newest fraud out there. People are doing that. There's a lot of fraud out there. So I've had people report back to me like, hey, I got this listing, I want to buy it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I call and it's not even legitimate listing, not the legitimate owner. People are doing all kinds of stuff trying to make a quick buck. So I can't believe that. Sorry for you, Charlton. That's, again, part of the scam you got to watch out there. Mm-hmm. It's rampant.
I see that a lot for rentals. I haven't seen that for listings here, but I see a lot of a listing will be listed as an apartment. And, then they high pressure people to put down a deposit.
Wow.
Yeah, we see a lot of land too, because land,
vacant land gets that too a lot.
Yeah, because there's a lot less scrutiny on it. Hey, we got to sell this couple acres. I need to sell quick. Price it very aggressively. It's usually a cash transaction because land's hard to get conventional financing against, and so a lot of times people don't even know because there's it's a good old boy network here, sometimes in Texas, and And so it's just nobody asks the right question, like, hey, show me your proof that you own this property. And there's a lot of scams out there and stuff. And a lot of people, they hide behind computers, screens, and IP addresses that can be changed. And yeah, it's hard to track it down. So.
Well, Jess, in Baltimore, we have people that rent out the vacant homes like it's theirs.
Mm.
You know, for Baltimore Gas and Electric, you don't need much to get electric service turned on, right? You just have to file the application as long as you have an address. I've actually seen, and guys, if you're listening, I'm not telling you to do it, but I've seen a lot of people that, you know, or several people that have taken those vacant properties across the street and turned the water on and advertised them, changed the locks, put people in there, collect the rents. They don't own them. These properties are just sitting. The owners don't even know, you know, what's going on with the properties. They don't even know who the owners are on some of these properties. Lots of problems. Anyway, guys, two things I want to plug tonight. I have to plug this. We are on Instagram and TikTok, and we've been very bad at those two platforms, but we're putting a lot of emphasis in. So if you guys like Instagram or TikTok, cruise on over. Follow, whatever you call it. We've tried this before. Follow, subscribe, whatever it is. I don't know. Check us out. It's a different kind of vibe.
It's fun.
We're cool.
It's fun.
We're
cool.
Hip we
now.
can hang
We're
out
current,
with all y'all
we're relevant.
Gen Zs and whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff.
We're on Facebook too, but I think my mom's on Facebook. My in-laws are. I mean, I don't know who's on Facebook anymore, but you can check us out on that too. Guys, we really appreciate you guys as our panelists tonight. We really can't thank you enough for being on our show. Guys, if you like this video, hit the thumbs up and let everybody know that you did. And as always, if you haven't subscribed to Sachs Realty, now's your opportunity. You can share us with your friends. And please visit, like I said, our panel will go around. James, thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. This has been fun.
Any last minute parting thoughts?
You know, just if you're going to invest in the American dream, which is still very much in reach, I think it's a privilege. It's absolutely a privilege. I've owned many houses over my life, but I never forget the feeling of that first house key in my hand when I didn't think I could do it. And I love that still today. 21 years later, like I said, a lot of kitchen tables, but like the idea of just like still the dream is very possible. We live in a very awesome time to be on this planet Earth. And yeah, we got our challenges, we got our struggles, but you know what? You know, we're all in this together and better together. So appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for everyone listening. And just, if you are not sure, it's okay. The actual sign of strength is to ask for help. If you don't know something, ask a professional. You got people on this call. You got people that will reach out and you can put you in touch with any kind of trade specialist that you need. We're here for you.
And James, I have to say this. You're one of the sharpest dressed guys I've ever met, man. And there is something, you are known for your shoes, man. I mean, you have some freaking shoes. But buddy, tell everybody, just kind of plug what you do, because I know you do a shoe drive, and, I just kind of talk for a minute, about what you do in the charity side of things.
Oh man, I really appreciate that, because a passion of mine. I grew up in Flint, Michigan, so anybody knows there's some good that actually comes out of Flint, not just bad water. But yours truly, born and raised there. But I grew up with nothing. So when somebody gave me a pair of shoes when I was a little kid, I never forgot that. So fast forward, now I'm a very successful agent, can buy all the shoes I want. I never forgot what that felt like. And 4 years ago, as luck would have it, I got the opportunity to give back. And it was such a give back that, I kind of made it a mission. Now we have a 501c3 called Sharp Shoes. And it's a nonprofit organization. We help kids who can't afford shoes and families get into new pairs of shoes. And personally, every time I sell a house, I go buy a dozen pair of kids' shoes. That way I can just give it back. And so we actually now tie our event. So we just had an ice cream social on Saturday. We raised several hundred pairs of shoes from all of our clients and vendors that support us. And we got to celebrate with some good people and raise a bunch of shoes and launch awareness, a bunch of money. And it's going to be great, because we're going to literally help hundreds and hundreds of kids in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. next month go back to school with a fresh pair of kicks on their feet.
We're going to publish that link, man. So you guys listening, if you feel compelled to do so, cruise on over and share some generosity and help James provide shoes to people in need. So thanks so much, man, for doing that.
Yeah, it's over 21,000 kids, man. So we're just
Amen.
a small group, but we've made a big dent in it right here in Dallas Fort Worth. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. Oh, cool. Jess, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any parting thoughts?
I can relate to what James said about real estate being a gift. As a single mom, the first property I bought by myself was a 3-family, because I knew that would be the stepping stone that would give me some financial stability to be able to be a single mom. And it is what allowed me to get into real estate, because I had those living expenses covered. I knew that math worked. And so I've been really focused on helping other women to be able to be confident, to be able to purchase real estate on their own. I was told that I didn't know what I was doing. I was buying in the wrong neighborhood, and it was undoubtedly the most life-changing decision that I made.
Wow, that's great. That's awesome. Super. We appreciate you being on. Kevin.
This has been great, Todd. Thank you guys so much for the invite, and the discussion's been awesome. I've been in the Tampa Bay area over 45 years, pretty much most of my whole life. Tampa Bay is like a third thought after Orlando and Miami. I always say that this is not your father's Tampa Bay. Downtown city of Tampa has a vibe like never before. Even St. Petersburg, excellent place to visit, great restaurants, places to buy whatever you want on the streets. Professional sports is here. Average price of a home is at $466. We can get it lower than that if you go a little bit out of the city. So many things going on here. Our infrastructure, massive changes to the highways. Long on-ramps, long off-ramps. We don't have the traffic Orlando does. We darn sure don't have Miami's traffic. But if you come on down, sold by KevinIntheuSA.com, I will show up and I will take care of the work if you want to purchase a home. Thank you guys very much for this panel. It's been great.
Now, Kevin, some may say Tom Brady had a little bit to do with, bringing some new life to the, but that was short-lived, but anyway.
He
Melissa?
did, absolutely.
Yeah, and I just said that because, leading into Melissa, I know she loves Tom Brady. From being from New England.
I am, and he is. Yeah, he's great in my book.
He's retired.
He is.
He's done. He's old news.
Not for me. He's very much relevant. Anyway, you guys, it's been so great getting to know you, having conversations with you, especially being part of our network. And now tonight, being able to really get to know you a little bit deeper. And it's just been an honor. I'm so glad all of you were available to come on this evening and really get your insight. And I'm just really grateful. I love it. It's a good vibe, and I'm happy to be here for it.
And for those of you that say that Todd only brings on people that agree with him, here we go, guys.
Right.
Tonight, you got your wish come true. You got your treat. I love you all. Thank you so much for watching. Until next week, we'll see you soon.
We'll see you soon.
Thanks.